Them again, saying, I am the light of the world. He who follows me shall not walk in darkness, but have the light of life. You may be seated in the presence of the Lord. Our theme for Vacation Bible School was Glow for Jesus, Let Your Light Shine. Our topic today, our sermon is, I'm too blessed to be stressed. Don't just turn to your neighbor and say, you are too blessed to be stressed. Won't you find somebody else in here and tell them you are too blessed to be stressed. This story emphasizes God's overwhelming love for us, regardless of the mistakes or sins that each one of us have committed in the past. How many of you know God does not hold your past against your future? Here's a woman who was caught in the act of adultery and is brought to Jesus, and the charges laid against her are tremendous charges. This accusation of adultery carried a serious judgment. You were to be stoned to death. And here's an angry mob with rocks in their hands, ready to commit her to death. The woman denies that she was committing adultery. She never said, Jesus, I didn't do it. And Jesus acknowledges that she's committed some sin, because when he dismisses her, he says, go and sin no more. But the words of comfort in this text is Jesus does not condemn her for her sin. She is standing in front of the Savior. He has not come to kill, steal, and destroy as the devil does, or as an angry mob would do, but Jesus has come that we might have life and have life more abundantly. He reminds us that all of us have sinned. As the crowd stood there pointing their fingers at her, trying to condemn her for the act of sin they caught her in. Then Jesus points the light on all of them and said, if you want to condemn her for her sin, first thing I want you to check yourself and make sure you don't have some sins that you might get condemned for. In other words, nobody is perfect except the Lord. Why don't you say that with me? Nobody's perfect. As long as you have breath in your body, God is willing to forgive us and to reconcile us back to a right relationship with Him. So why keep dragging around bitter experiences from your own past, condemning yourself? Not one of us can go back in time and undo the mistakes that we have made in the past. No matter how many times we try to replay an unpleasant experience in our mind or retell how painful our past was, you can't reverse one moment of your past. How many of you know you can't change what's already happened? But what each of us can do is determine, I'm not going to let something from the past turn me sour for my future. I remember reading this story about General Lee, who visited a woman in Kentucky. She had lived in this grand mansion. And when he arrived, she took him to the front of the home, where there was this old tree, this beautiful big oak tree that formerly had stood in front of her mansion. The North and the South had fought a bitter battle right there on her front porch, and in the crossfires, this tree had literally been torn apart. The limbs were barely hanging on. The trunk of the tree had been destroyed. She looked at Lee and spoke and expected him to speak a word of consolation to her, or at the least condemn the North, or say some word of sympathy for her loss. But after standing there, Lee said to the woman, you ought to cut it down, ma'am, and forget about it. Lee's advice was simple. Don't get stuck on what was. Let it go and move on with your life. That's a word for somebody today. Don't allow something from the past to hinder you from living today. You can't go back in time and undo, and it does you no good to try to relive it day after day after day. Have you ever met anybody that got stuck in a moment in time in their life and they could not move forward? And every conversation they had to bring up how they were hurt, how they were offended, Some of y'all need to cut your losses. I remember one time I went into a business deal with a family member, and I took all the money I had saved up and gave it to the family member. They were going to start a dealership, and they went and gathered money from other family members, and we were going to have this family dealership. And within 2 months, the dealership was folding, my money was gone, and I knew right away I was never going to get it back. My heart was hurting. I had worked hard for that money, and I wanted my money back. I felt stupid for giving the money and investing the money. I even went to my pastor, and I said to him, what am I going to do? My money is gone. I gave everything I had. And he said, Chris, I want you to look at your hand. And I looked at my hand. He said, I want you to kiss your hand. So I kissed my hand. He said, now do your hand like this. And when I started doing my hand like that, he said, that's what you need to do with that money. Kiss it goodbye. You're not getting that money back. Go ahead and accept it's not coming back and start living your life. You can't get stuck in a moment in time. God's got much better things waiting for you. Chalk it up to a learning experience. File it away in a growing moment. Use it to mature your life. Don't use it to stop you. As a lady once told me, make it your stepping stone, not your stumbling block. You gotta keep living forward. You've been too blessed to be distressed. Mistakes you made in the past are just that, in the past. There's no need to memorialize your mistakes, to remain in perpetual grief, constantly rehearsing their memory by sharing terrible history over and over again. Cut it down and forget about it. Holding on to the past only blocks you from moving ahead into a happy future. It's like getting a bad grade on the first pop quiz of school. If you become so fixated on that one failed test, it may hurt you for the rest of the school year. But if you will file that bad grade away to, I just was not prepared, maybe I forgot some of the information from over the summertime, and say, on the next test, I'm going to do the best I can. On the next test, I'm going to study, I'm going to prepare myself and be ready to succeed. You can take that one bad test and use it as a learning experience and say to yourself, I'll be ready from this point on, and the rest of your test can be a success. Don't get stuck. Won't you say that with me? Don't get stuck. Everyone makes mistakes. God gives us his grace so we can keep moving forwards. But don't block your own blessings, and certainly don't let nobody else block your blessings. We all need God's grace. We all need a second chance. That's why Jesus tells the men in the crowd who want to stone the woman, you who are without sin, cast the first stone. He already knew every person in that crowd had some sin in their life. He already knew they all had a past. They all had shortcomings. They all had faults. They all had misfortune. That's why we got to be careful once you give your life to the Lord and you've been saved for some years, that we don't become a judgmental Christian that nobody wants to be around, that's always looking down your nose at other folk that don't seem to be measuring up to your level. Because the truth of the matter is, you still got some stuff in your past that if somebody shine a light on it, it might be embarrassing if word got out on it. If you were to have a news crew follow you around 24 hours a day, recording everything you said, everything you thought, everything you did, and then exposed it to the world, it might be quite embarrassing for the world to know. You still got some areas that you need God to clean up in your life. Just because we know how to dress right and say the right things in public doesn't mean you now become perfect. There's none perfect but the Father. So what we ought to do is get a spirit of humility in ourselves. And when we look at a brother or sister that still needs some work in their life, we ought to encourage them and saying, I once was lost, but God saved my soul. I once was down in the muck and mire, but God picked me up and turned me around. And if God can do it for me, God can do it for you. We have to be careful that we don't start becoming the high-minded Pharisees of the modern day that think everybody else is wrong but us, that we got it right. So we have a right to judge our brothers and sisters and neighbor and look down not live on your same level. Can I let y'all in on something? Just because you're middle class doesn't mean you're righteous. You can have all the money in the world, you can wear the finest clothes, drive the nicest car, but still have a nasty attitude. Still can't get along with your neighbor. Still won't love nobody. Still be selfish. Still be hard-headed. Still be hard in your heart. Money don't make you right. What makes you right is when I allow the Holy Ghost to come into my life. And when God is inside of you, that's what makes you right. Yes, Lord. Just because you can afford to get your hair laid, dyed, and fried, don't mean you're any better than the sister that's still wearing a weave from 3 months ago. That sister may be on her knees every night, thanking God for the little thing that He has provided. Just because you're eating filet mignon does not mean that you're better than the brother that's still eating bologna sandwich. If he's eating it with thanksgiving and able to bow his head at the table and say, God, I thank you for the food on my table. If he's receiving it with thanksgiving, God is receiving him in love. Don't get stuck. That's why Jesus said, you that's without sin, cast the first stone. He already knew they all had some stuff. Just because some sin is more visible than others doesn't mean that you're more righteous than someone, and that just means you know how to cover it up better. The only difference between the persons in the crowd and this woman standing for Jesus is she got caught. A whole lot of us would have a record right now if you'd have just got caught. But thanks be unto God for His grace and His mercy. He knew that He had to keep you out of trouble so He could use you later on to help somebody that was in trouble. I just want to know if I got one or two out there that say, I thank God that I didn't get caught. I was not perfect. I didn't always follow every rule. I have not always done everything to the letter, but God gave me enough grace over my life that He didn't let me get caught. Newspapers will be filled with stories if every sin people had committed was exposed. That's why the writer in Psalms 24 says, a just man falls 7 times, but he gets back up. Notice the scripture doesn't stop at the word falls, nor does the scripture end with the man being down. No, there's restoration after the fall. And the same is true for every believer. God knows you're going to fall sometimes. But here's the good news. He gives you grace to get back up. In this Christian race, you may stumble and fall, but don't stay down. When you fall down, make sure you bounce back up every time. Get back up and keep on running. That's the secret to living a life that is pleasing to God. The Lord knows we're going to make mistakes and even fall sometimes. But each time you fall, you got to get up and keep on moving. That's what Jesus says to the woman. He says, woman, where are those that condemn you? And she said, none. He said, well, I don't condemn you either. But then he hit her with, now go and sin no more. Did y'all hear that? He forgave her, but then he also acknowledged, now you did do it. I'm forgiving you, but don't go back and keep on doing it. Once they are up, Jesus says, don't make the same mistake. Woe unto you who gets forgiveness, who gets grace, who gets God's mercy, and then a couple of days later forget how God has forgiven you and go back to doing the same thing that He just got you out of. We must learn from our past, not